Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Tuesday. This is Game Day Live, coming to you live from the Primetime Radio studios in the confines of our own beautiful bunkers in beautiful New Jersey and beautiful Chicago, Illinois. Both places about to get walloped by some winter weather as the Devils try to snap their 5-game winless streak down at Raleigh, North Carolina, also known as South Jersey. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Vinnie, did you know that Raleigh, North Carolina is South Jersey?
I did not. I've heard that when the Devils play there, there's a lot of Devils people that find a way to attend, and I know it's a largely Devils-heavy crowd a lot of the times. For some reason, people like to migrate south. When they migrate south from New Jersey, a lot of the times they end up in Raleigh, so I'm sure that has something to do with it, but I did not know it was called South Jersey as a nickname. I think that's really funny, and I hope that ends up being the case tonight because the boys could use it.
Yeah, it's actually true. On a personal note, came very close of relocating there, Mr. and Mrs. Wu. Very, very close. We did all the research. We found out that a lot of Hurricanes employees are from New Jersey and did not get jobs with the New Jersey Devils and relocated there and worked for the Hurricanes. Still Devils fans, but they got to be quiet about it because I found a lot of them actually working inside the building. My last visit there, which was, I believe, in 2019. I think it was November 2019. And, and I have a lot of friends that are, have relocated there, and some of them have changed allegiances just because of the local thing. So now they're no longer my friends. I'm not going to even name names. That's how serious this rivalry is.
Hopefully, I believe the last time they played in the playoffs, the Hurricanes got the better of it, but hopefully the Devils turn the tides, and they're on their way to turning the tides. We are seeing now that this is a young team. There's going to be growing pains. They've obviously lost a handful here in a row now. There'd be no better way, though, to end that skid than making some of your friends that used to be your friends that are no longer your friends, make them angry tonight.
Yeah, and there's no Taylor ham down there. The bagels suck. The pizza sucks. But the barbecue is actually pretty good. All right, enough of the small talk. I like to do a little small talk on these podcasts here on the Let's Go Devils Network. All right, Devils, Canes, the rest of the Metropolitan Division, the big market correction, a lot of them are winning, like the Canes, like the Rangers, like the Penguins, all moving up in the standings. And the Devils and the New Jersey Devils, here's their chance. Last game, we harped on it quite a bit about not sticking up for your captain. I think the message has been sent from the fans, from the pundits. I think Lindy Ruff even said that it could have been a lot better. And I'm interested to see how they're going to react because they're going to have to figure this thing out fast. You've got Carolina. Tomorrow you have Florida. You've got Boston on the 23rd and 28th. They have to figure this out fast. I mean, they had their little kumbaya with the holiday Christmas party or whatever you want to call it. We all saw the photos online. But I'm hoping that this team can find a way to get back to where they were winning and getting back to those old habits and playing for each other, essentially.
Yeah, and listen, those are really good teams. Those are teams in the NHL that believe they're going to win the Stanley Cup. They come into this year thinking we have a chance to do this. And the Devils were really hot in November, even the beginning of December. It kept going for a little while, and now they're cooled off, and they were always going to cool off. They lost Nathan Bastian. They lost Andre Palat. They need these guys back. They're not fully developed. That's just the way it is. Nico Hischier was not going to have 100 points. I don't know if he's ever going to have. He might, but he slowed down a little bit in terms of the assists. The goals are still kind of there. He scored back-to-back games on this losing streak. He could really use one tonight. I think tonight's a great game for him to get off the schneid a little bit. But Jack Hughes is still putting up points. Jasper Bratt's in a little bit of a funk. Okay, they're not defending like they were. Vitek Vanacek and Akira Schmid were okay, but this team needs them to be a little bit better than okay. I think most teams in the NHL need their goalies to be a little bit better than okay. A slump was always coming after being on such a high to start December. They're playing really good teams, like, constantly now. And listen, the average age of the Devils' 5 best players is 23. That's the youngest in the NHL, of youngest average age of their best 5 players. And so what are we going to be talking about in 5 to 6 years? They might not go on a 13-game winning streak, but they certainly won't go on a 5-game losing streak. So, as there's going to be learning curves. This is one of them. This is where you learn how to deal with adversity. That's when you learn the most about yourself, and when the most you learn about your group is when things are hard. How do you respond to it? So the Devils are in a good spot standings-wise because they've lost 5 in a row and they're still in first place. They won't be in first place if they lose this game today. So they have to come out and play at their best. Their forward lines, as I've seen them, look more like they did during the winning streak than when things got shuffled around a little bit. Hall is back up with Hughes. Holtz is on the 4th line. It's missing Bastian and Andre Palat, like we've said. Severson draws back into the lineup, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and there are some comments right now. Peter Seifert is asking for live. It's game day live. Of course we're live. We don't pre-record. Are you kidding me? Here, I'll read out a couple.
Once?
Yeah, we did it once because of major scheduling conflicts. Steve Engel says same refs as the game we played against the Maple Leafs, the disallowed goals game. I don't have any confirmation on that. Peter Seifert said it's my joke, Sam. Woo. Okay, ha 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 ha. But you know what? I like to prove it that we're live because we don't fake live. We're live. Hence game day live. Also, Felix in the Facebook Live says, yes, the Devils beat the Canes tonight, thinking positively. Now, Mac Black is back. Akira Schmid was sent down, or really sent up to Utica, based on geography. One person on HockeyBuzz.com asked me, I have Schmid in my fantasy hockey league. Should I drop him? And I reply back, I wouldn't. Mac Black is injury prone, or you never know with the Devils goaltending situation in the last 3 years. And I'm not faulting anybody. It's just been a merry-go-around. And it's well, let's put it this way. I'm glad Mac Black's back. And now you've got the tandem. It takes some pressure off, hopefully, off of Vanacek. But I thought Schmid played extremely well during that time period.
I thought Schmid played well, too. If it were I play in a fantasy league where I'm the only Devils fan. So I would drop Schmid, knowing I'd be able to pick him right back up when they got called up. I would know it before everybody. So I don't know what kind of league you're playing in. If you're in a league with a bunch of Devils fans, then it might be a risk. But even when he comes back, is he going to play more than Vanacek? I would look for a different goalie option, to be honest with you, if we're talking strictly fantasy, no Devils bias. But that's just me. Blackwood, he's going to come in. He's going to get his shot. He's not playing today. Vitek Vanacek will play in his 200th career NHL game, I believe it said. His 200th career game. No, it's his 100th career game, playing with the Devils. So, not 100th with the Devils, 100th in the NHL, but it's with the Devils. And he's had a good career so far. He's a young goaltender. He's learned the ways the right way, and hopefully he's able to get a win in this milestone game for him.
Yeah, and also coming over the wire, according to Mrs. Wu, our resident statistician here on the Let's Go Devils podcast. Bill Spaulding is still out.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he is, I believe he's sick. I've had a head cold in the last few days. It's hard to muscle through it. Towards the end of, I believe it was the Let's Go Devils podcast Sunday edition. I mean, I almost lost my voice after 10 minutes. So, but for Bill Spaulding, get well soon. We just want to put that out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure Maddie will do the call again on TV once again, like he did in the last game. He always does a good job. He does everything well. Yeah. He does literally everything well. He's like a Sergei Brylin. Yeah. I was going to say Nico Hischier, but yeah, Sergei Brylin. Just good at everything. Is he elite at any one thing? No, he's just really, really good at everything, and I'm happy to have him as part of this organization.
Yeah. If anything he's elite in is every time I've seen him, he's consistently classy. He never has a bad thing to say about anything, Matt Loughlin. If you ever talk to him, get the chance to talk to him, he's always positive. Very positive, well-polished. And, Matt, you're going back to the Sports Channel days, if anybody remembers. Sports Channel back in the 90s, him and Matt and the Maven. That was always a great segment for pregame. Matt and the Maven, Stan Fischler.
Yeah.
It was always good.
My knowledge of Stan Fischler is not as lucky as most Devils fans because I would only see him during intermissions because NHL TV and now ESPN, whenever he was on, or if it was pregame or postgame, that stuff's not on the ESPN or NHL TV. So I only ever got to enjoy him when he was doing intermission stuff and then stuff online. But I always enjoyed what I saw.
Yeah, and you know what? Enjoy it, folks, because we were so spoiled with Gary Thorne and Doc Emmerich, Chico and Doc. And I really think that the chemistry between Matt Loughlin and Ken Danico is actually really, really good. And that's amazing because Matt is just really what we call here on the podcast, the EBUB, the emergency backup broadcaster, just to fill in out of nowhere and actually do that and double shift and actually doing some of the intermission stuff, with Bryce Salvador. I think that's been pretty good.
I legitimately believe he could do all of that and this show and my Wednesday hockey show, your Wednesday hockey show. I literally think he could do all of it perfectly.
Yeah, and he's always been a great fan of the podcast and always a great guest as well. We've had him. Oh, he was one of our first celebrity guests on this podcast, like going back to season 1, if you ever, go through those episodes, because back in those days, we were so nervous and so scared to have him on the phone that we didn't want his phone call to drop, But anyway, those were the days way back when. So, all right, so Carolina Hurricanes, the scouting report on them. I think they're an elite team. I had them to be the team to beat, and that's saying a lot because Tampa, being where they were, but Boston really, I think Boston's been overachieving. I didn't think any of us thought that Boston would be like that good. I'm talking President Trophy type good, but Carolina Hurricanes, I'll tell you, they are very well coached. Extremely well coached, and defensively, they don't miss their assignments.
Yeah, I completely agree. And listen, I'm confident enough it's December 20th, right? Like, we're starting to really learn what teams are. The Bruins aren't a fraud by any means. We were wrong about the Bruins. I didn't think they'd be this good. I thought they'd be okay, third or fourth in the Atlantic Division. They still got Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, McAvoy, good goaltending, good coach. I thought they'd be good. They're this good. I'm not taking anything away from them. What I will say, though, is we were right about the Carolina Hurricanes. On Pucks and Pitchforks, I had them winning the Metropolitan Division this season when the New York Rangers were like the popular pick. There are some people that still believe the Penguins, the Capitals, some extremely optimistic Devils fans coming into the year. But I had the Carolina Hurricanes. I still end up thinking that they're going to win the division when it's all said and done, the Metropolitan. Them and the Bruins are the two best teams in the Eastern Conference on paper. They've been proving it on the ice so far this year. And it's a really tough stretch for the Devils. The fact that 3 of their next, 5 games are against those 2 teams. And Carolina's really, really good. They have outstanding chemistry amongst their forwards, led by Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov. They make really good plays on their back end. They have great defensemen. All 6 of their defensemen would be in the top 4 on most NHL teams. They acquired Brent Burns this offseason, and guess what? For as good as Carolina has been so far this year, they're adding one of the best snipers in the last 15 years to their team when Max Pacioretty gets healthy in the second half of this year. It's just a really good time in Carolina right now. This is a core good enough to win the Stanley Cup. And if the Devils are going to reach that kind of level, they're going to have to beat these guys because they have everything that it takes to win the Stanley Cup. A high-profile scoring winger, a great two-way centerman that could win a Selke Trophy but have 100 points. Starting to sound familiar, Devils fans? Something that might be brewing here in New Jersey with the high-scoring winger and the two-way centerman and the outstanding elite offensive production from a guy like Jack Hughes. Stuff like that's going on in Carolina too. And listen, they're really, really tough to beat. The Devils can beat them. We've seen them beat teams equally as good as them this season. They have wins against the teams in Alberta and the Colorado Avalanche and the New York Rangers they've even beaten so far this year, who would give Carolina a run for their money. So if the Devils are able to pull out a win here tonight, I think it will speak volumes on, their confidence moving forward when they got the Bruins next. And the Florida Panthers in between, but that's another really good team that just lost in a massacre type of fashion yesterday to the Bruins, which shows how good they are. It's tough, and I believe in the Devils every single game they play. Hopefully they're able to take care of it tonight.
Yeah, a couple comments and questions I want to get to. Mike Rossi in the Facebook Live says, I hope the Devils beat the Canes so I can the Canes fans I delivered Amazon packages to. Mike Rossi is a transplant from New Jersey to Carolina, talking a little trash. Also, Peter is asking, let me go to Dave Singer first on the YouTube Live. Carolina will play fast and heavy tonight. This is a massive, massive test. Peter Seifert says, what are we missing if we need to make it? High-scoring winger. I honestly think a Butch Goring type player. If you remember years ago, this is before you were born, Vinnie. I was only 2 years old at the time, that the Islanders were on the cusp of greatness, but they needed that veteran leader to get them over the top. And they made a trade. And once they got Butch Goring, the whole dynamics of the New York Islanders, it really started a dynasty. 4 Stanley Cups in a row. That's something I would like to ask Chico Resch about Butch Goring. Do the Devils, is that going to be somewhere where Tom Fitzgerald is looking for that player? It could be Palat, but we only have a small sample of that. It's, so could we may even have that Butch Goring. Dave Singer says Goring was a force. Absolutely he was. And, I think the Devils may have him, but I also, I don't want to say a high-scoring winger. I think they need somebody to really, and pardon my French, kick some ass. Like what happened the other night is a huge example. Get the team fired up over that whole artificially infuriating, self-motivating Florida Panthers over a play that was really an accident. It wasn't intentional, but you've got to show that same level of intensity right back, but instead they just let it go. And I don't like the passiveness, you know. But I don't like stupidity either, taking penalties. But there are some instances where you got to look at, do we win the battle or do we win the war? And sometimes you have to lose a couple battles to win that war. And I wish they would have stuck up for Nico Hischier, even if it meant get kicked out of the game. That's just my opinion, of course.
Yeah, I completely agree. Is it Andre Palat? Is it one of their stars, Hischier, something like that? It very well could be. The Minnesota Wild have like a very, very good record since trading for Ryan Reeves. Ryan Reeves doesn't score. Ryan Reeves doesn't make plays. It's weird how this stuff happens. And that's where I start to veer away from the analytics community, because these people will tell you not to trade for a guy like that. And then the teams do trade for a guy like that, and all of a sudden they start winning. The Wild look like the cup contender that they probably are, you know, not like a high-profile cup contender, but like a team that could go on a run, if you will. And, you know, so we'll see what happens. I
Jim McKenzie,
really want them.
Jim McKenzie years ago, best friends with Martin Brodeur. Analytics is not going to show the first guy to the rink and the last guy out of the rink. The analytics aren't going to show the enforcer at every time that they went out on the ice. It was Jim McKenzie giving everybody high fives before he stepped out onto the ice. The analytics don't really – I always said that hockey is a game of emotion as well, and you never want to take the emotion out of the game, and there's no metric on emotion. And again, when you talk about the analytics community, it's a baseline of where things may be, but if you take the analytics in 1980, the U.S. Olympics team, the men's team, versus Soviet Union, the CCCP, the analytics would have said 99.9% the Russians would have won that game. But what the analytics didn't see was all the hard work, sweat, tears, the outside-of-the-box thinking of Herb Brooks, implementing a system that was innovative at the time period, where not only do you play tough, you skate, and you skate with the Russians, you know. So, you know, again, a lot of funny comments. Sorry, I get distracted too much, but I completely agree with it. And you know what? And I know it's like a long-winded answer for Peter's question, like what the Devils need, but they need the intangibles to stop the bleeding. You know, the talent's there. I have no question that the talent's there, but, you know, it's sometimes, I guess it's the old adage, if your head's not in it, you can have all the talent world, but if your head's not in it, you're not going anywhere. And I think it's more of a mental game that the Devils need to bring than a physical or, you know, talent.
Yep, I completely agree. And hopefully they're able to get that done before the trade deadline if they're still in position to. But got to stop the bleeding right now.
Yeah, and you know what, Vinny? We got to get to our predictions. Our BetStamp.app predictions. Because we've been losers for the last, 5 games. Tired of losing. We got a couple OTLs there. We're kind of lucky with that. But I looked at it with you and on the BetStamp.app, and the Devils are, well, why don't you explain your picks and where you're picking from? Because I don't think the odds makers are looking too friendly towards the New Jersey Devils for the first time in a while.
Yeah, for the first time in like 15 games or so, the New Jersey Devils are underdogs in a game that they are playing. Of course, it's on the road against one of the top teams in the league. And when you're on a skid like this and it's your first year of being relevant in a long time, the bookmakers are going to turn on you quickly. So they're on almost every site that I saw using the BetStamp app. I found that they are underdogs, and I found them on DraftKings Sportsbook at plus 100. I'm taking the Devils to win the game by a score of 4-2. Let's end the skid tonight. DraftKings plus 100. Go bet using the BetStamp app to find the price that fits your needs.
Yeah, and you know what? Same thing. I'm going with DraftKings as well. 5-3 victory. I think the empty net goal will seal the deal, and the Devils will get on track. I would expect the Devils to play tough And if they don't, we've got bigger problems. It's how the Devils respond. The blueprint is out how you beat the Devils right now. And it's been done the last 5 games. You basically intimidate. You infuriate. You physically beat them into submission because they're not going to out-hit you. You clog up the neutral zone. You get them off their game. And then you win. But how will the Devils respond? That's the big question.
Hard on the forecheck, pucks in deep, go to the front of the net, and I think you can beat the Hurricanes. We'll see if they're able to.
Yeah. And is Severson back in tonight? Did the lineups come out yet? Yeah,
he is in the lineup.
He's in the lineup tonight, so that's great. And you know what? Let's see a response out of him. He has a lot to prove. He had some time to think about it. Will he respond? We shall see. And we will recap that on Devils After Dark after the game. Scotty of SiriusXM, Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was. The predictions are filing in. YouTube Live. Oh my goodness, 3-2 Devils. Peter, 2-1 Devils. Dave Singer, 4-3 Devils in OT. Dennis, NJD, 5-4 OT. Ramona, 4-2. Going with your pick, Vinnie. I think she likes you more than she likes me. I've been noticing that. Or my picks are just that awful. I don't know.
Both of our picks are awful.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Vinnie. I want to thank all those watching, listening in, dropping the podcast in about 20 minutes. Enjoy the game, everybody. Devils, Carolina, Hurricanes. Coming to you in about 3 to 5 minutes. Till next time, let's go Devils.